Besties, as you can see, we have a very large stack here, which is probably going to give you anxiety the whole video thinking it's going to fall over. Me too. So this is my physical series TBR. So all of the series that I need to read that are physically on my TBR that I haven't read, because I am a person who buys a whole series before I even know what the first book is about, before I've even touched the first book, which is not good. I see one quote on BookTok and I'm like, give me the whole entire series now. So let's get into it and see what I've done that with, because there's so many. First up, we have the Brutal Birthright series. I believe I spoke about this in my last video, so I won't go too in depth, but this is way out of my comfort zone because you guys know me. I'm a sickeningly sweet romance girly. I need the fluff. I love the fluff. I'm not good with angst, okay? The miscommunication trope is enough angst for me. The third breakup scene, that's it. I'm done. But this, they genuinely hate each other. Like, this is enemies to lovers at its finest. Like, they hate each other. And that's normally not my thing, but I did enjoy it. I think I gave this 3 stars because obviously it's out of my comfort zone, but it wasn't bad. And I enjoyed it. And I think the rest of the series, I don't know if I will read. I do have it though, but because the series is so beautiful on my bookshelf. But the second book, I don't know if like, obviously there's tropes, you know, everyone, like, maybe you don't like tropes. I like tropes because I need to know what the book is about, or I'm not going to read it, because I don't like going in and there's a trope that I hate and then I'm like, well, here we are. It's wasting my time. So I feel like the second book has, I'm not going to say what the tropes are just in case you don't want to know, but it has tropes I'm not really a fan of. So I don't know, but I think I might continue with the series because the first book was good and I think I might like the rest, who knows. We have The Housemaid, which I think is a trilogy or 4 books. I'm not really sure how many books there are. My book bestie Ree got me into Frida McFadden. The first book she recommended was Never Lie, and then I read The Housemaid, and I feel like The Housemaid was really good, but I think because I read Never Lie first, it just wasn't my favourite Frida McFadden book, because Never Lie is really, really good. And I genuinely do want to finish the series because I did like it. It just wasn't my favourite, but I do want to know what happens to the main female character in the second book and like what she goes through and what's happening in that. And I feel like it would be good because, I don't know, I just feel like it's going to be interesting. I know there's a novella that nobody really likes of the series, so maybe I'll just read the next books and not read the novella, if that makes sense. But yeah, I feel like Frida McFadden, I do love a Frida McFadden book. Read this if you need to get out of a slump. And yeah, that I want to read the Housemaid series because I think it's good. It's not on my top of my TBR, so I don't know when I'll read it, but we will get to it. That is the Addicted/Calloway Sister series, which I believe I have spoke about before. I am currently on the 3rd book. I did start this book a long time ago, and I feel like I wasn't in the mind space to understand like the complexities of these characters, and I feel like I didn't really like it that much. Whereas now I feel like I'm old enough that I actually did like the characters, and I feel like I connect to all of the characters and I love them so much. But it did take me really long to get into. Even the second book, I started reading it and then I didn't read it. Then last year I actually sat down and was like, you know what, let me read it, and I did enjoy it. It's not my favorite series, but I feel like once I get more into the books, I will like it even more because I feel like it just grows on you. It's just a slow burn. It's very out of my comfort zone because normally I'm like a fluffy romance lover. This is more like drama, and it feels like you're besties with the characters, but it's just so dramatic. But yeah, I do like the series and I can't wait to finish it because I feel like once it's finished, it's gonna break my heart. A nephew in the background, but you know. The next series is very similar to the Addicted series. This is the Magnolia Park series. I think they might be similar. I'm not even sure what this is about that much because the blurb is very, very discreet. And there's not much that it says about. Oh, there's a little thing here, but, you know, it's not much to know about this series. But I think when people were explaining it, they were saying it's like a reality TV series where it's like not... It's quite dramatic as well, like the Addicted series. And I feel like they're not normally my go-to romances, but I feel like sometimes you need to read romances where they're a bit more realistic and like not so fluffy because, you know, romance isn't really like that in real life. But I definitely am really excited to read the series because I feel like it's just so pretty. I like holding the book. It is very big, but the writing is not that small, so I don't feel like it will take me forever to read. I do really want to get into the series. I think I was meant to read it last year and I just didn't get to it. So this year is going to be the year I read the Magnolia Park series. I feel like I'm so late to this hype train because I feel like everyone loved Magnolia Parks and I want to join in because I hate feeling left out when people are reading books, which is not good, but I want to read it. We have A Court of Thorns and Roses, which I'm currently reading, so that's why there's tabs. I have the whole series. I actually got gifted the whole series by my book besties. I'm currently reading this book with my boyfriend, so we're going through it at a good pace. I'm 200 pages in. I think I read a little bit on my phone last night, so I might be a little bit further. And this series is just hyped up everywhere. I'm not a fan of the author, but I wanted to read it because I want to get into fantasy, and I feel like this is a good start to fantasy. But yeah, so that's what I'm currently reading. I am enjoying it so far, and I feel like I'm gonna like the rest of the series, so let's hope this is good. And I think it's interesting because I really like the whole fairy concept. I don't know how to say anything. The main character's name is like Feyre, and then there's fairies. I don't know, help me. I'm not a fantasy girly, but this is actually really good. I do love this, and I'm literally like running through it, so it's good. I have spoken about Fourth Wing before, but Fourth Wing is next. I only own the first book, I think. I don't think I own I Am Flame, but I don't know how I feel about the series because I do want to read it, but it's not finished, so I won't be reading it anytime soon because I do not like reading unfinished series. This is about dragons. That's all I know, that it's about dragons. I think I said that in the last video. And I do like dragons, so I'm excited to read this. It does look really good, so I don't know. We will give this a try. I just don't know anything about it, so I can't talk that much on it. I spoke about this as well. This is the War of Lost Hearts by Carissa Broadbent. I love Carissa Broadbent so much. I have not finished the Ashes and Sarkis King yet. So anyways, I definitely want to read this series because I just love the cover. This is literally the sole purpose I bought this. And because it's by Carissa Broadbent, I have no idea what this series is about. But I know that the romance in this is like the subplot. It's not the main like focus, which is, for me, kind of, I don't know, a bit scary because I do like the romance in a fantasy because then it's like, oh, I can have a break from all of this intense like world building and stuff. Because obviously, you know, I'm new to fantasy. I've only read one fantasy book and I am trying to get into it. So I feel like this would be maybe like a later fantasy book that I'll read once I like get used to the fantasy genre. Because if I go straight into this, I feel like I won't like it as much because I do like when it's mainly romance based, whereas this isn't solely focused on it. So maybe soon, once I proper get into fantasy. It count as a YouTube video if I haven't mentioned my one and only Elsie Silver. This is the Gold Rush Ranch series, which is before the Chestnut Spring series, which I believe follows the Eaton Boys' sister Violet. I think I'm right. And I want to read this because I want to have read everything by Elsie Silver. I have not read a cowboy romance in so long as well. I think the last cowboy romance I read was a Christmas cowboy romance. That's too long ago. I need all the cowboy romance I can get. Please and thank you. And if you have any cowboy romance recommendations, leave them in the comments that are not the obvious recommendations because I feel like it's so hard to find like I want some indie authors. I want some indie author cowboy romances now. I'm going to search for them because I love a cowboy romance and I need to read every single person's cowboy romance that they've ever written ever. So yeah, that's going to be my goal for 2025, to read every cowboy romance there ever is. But yeah, I can't wait to get into this series. We have the Twilight series, which I love these covers. They're so pretty. I have not read Twilight, which is absolutely surprising because I love vampires and I loved the Twilight movies. Guys, I'm not ashamed to say it. I love Twilight. It's cringe, but it's cringe in a good way. I just love it. It's such a guilty pleasure, and I will continue to fulfill that guilty pleasure by reading this series. It's not on the top of my TBR. I don't know when I am going to read this series, but it will happen because I want to read Twilight. I want to say I have read Twilight, okay? Please and thank you. Yes. I talk way too much. If you guys are getting bored, there's only 3 more books left, okay? We have Caraval. I don't know how to say it because most people who I watch on Book Talk are American and they say Caraval. And I'm going to say Caraval. I don't know, okay? But this is what I want to read. I know this is a YA and I don't normally read YAs. I don't think I've ever really read a YA. Yeah. I do want to read the series, however, because it's fantasy and I'm a fantasy girl now, okay? So we will be reading Caraval. I don't know how to say it, but we will be reading it and I have no idea what it's about. I know that it's like about a circus actually, and I read the first 19 pages and then I gave up because I wasn't a fantasy girl yet, okay? I tried to make this my first fantasy I had read. It just wasn't for me. I read Serpent and the Wings of Night and then I was like, let's continue with the fantasy, and now I'm reading Akatar and we're gonna get into fantasy, okay? I promise 2025 is the fantasy year. So I think this might be another YA. I'm not gonna lie to you. I don't have the first book, but I have the second, which is Divine Rivals. I don't know what this book is, the series is called, maybe just Divine Rivals. This is Ruthless Vows, the second book. I did get this and then I heard loads of mixed reviews and I was like, why do people always do this once I buy a book? I feel like once I get a book, that's when I see like all of the mixed reviews and I'm just like, But Divine Rivals, it seems so good. I want to read it, okay? And I will read it because it sounds so good and I think I should give it a try. I need to get the first book because I don't have the first book yet, but I will read it after I get into my other fantasies. It's not high up on my TBR, but I definitely want to read it. I have no idea what this is about. I know it's about, I think, these two people that write letters to each other. I'm not 100% sure. Obviously, I didn't check the background. This was a book that I saw a quote and I bought the book. So, yeah. But not least, also, this is so embarrassing. I feel like I've mentioned this book in every single YouTube video I've made. The Ashes of the the Crown of Nyaxia series, okay? We're going to say the Crown of Nyaxia series because there's other books. Obviously, I read The Serpent and the Wings of Night. I have not read The Ashes of the Star-Cursed King because some people are saying that they didn't like it. And I don't want to tarnish the name of The Serpent and the Wings of Night because I loved it so much. And if I don't like Ashes of the Star-Cursed King, I'm going to cry. So I'm going to keep it maybe by just reading The Serpent and the Wings of Night. And we'll see how I feel. And we will read The Ashes of the Star-Cursed King soon. I promise you guys. Thank you so much if you somehow made it to the end of this video. I feel like it was a long one. But that is my physical series TBR. I probably have more on my electronic TBR. I have so many books to read. And it's just not happening. I don't know why I need to read so much books. Because I feel like I just buy them and I just don't read them. And I feel like the next video is probably going to be me going through this physical TBR and getting through my TBR so I can buy more books because I feel like I'm going to be on a book buying ban until I get through some of these series because we need to get through them. I just need to ban myself from my Kindle. Kindle Unlimited is not being used until these books go down, okay? Thank you so much for watching. I love you all. Goodbye.